For over a decade, Texas has been sold to the American public as the ultimate promised land. It is the state where the middle class goes to survive, where retirees go to stretch their savings, and where ambitious young families go to build a future. On paper, it looks like one of America's absolute best places to live, but reality is far more complicated. Some people believe this state is the undisputed future of America. Others are quietly packing their U-Hauls and running away from it. The truth is, a massive shift is happening beneath the surface of the Lone Star State. The very things that made Texas a magnet for millions are beginning to warp, twist, and in some cases, break entirely. There is a hidden cost to the Texas dream, a quiet crisis brewing in the suburbs, and the sprawling exurbs that the glossy relocation brochures will never mention. Today, we are going on a journey across this massive, complex state. We are going to look past the hype, dig into the real numbers, and uncover what it truly takes to live, work, and retire in Texas in 2026. Buckle up. The road ahead is longer and far more surprising than you might think. When you first drive into Texas, the sheer scale of the place hits you like a physical force. This is not just a state. It is a continent disguised as a political boundary. If you enter from the east, you are greeted by the piney woods. The air is thick, humid, and smells of damp earth and pine needles. The roads are shaded by towering loblolly pines, and the towns feel like they belong in the deep south, complete with sprawling front porches and slow, deliberate rhythms. Drive a few hours west, and the landscape dramatically transforms. The dense forests give way to the rolling, limestone-dusted hills of the hill country. Here, the light is different. It is sharper, golden, and reflects off the glass and steel of rapidly expanding cities. The roads widen into massive, multi-lane highways, engineered to move millions of vehicles at breakneck speeds. Keep going, and you hit the panhandle. The earth flattens out into an endless, wind-swept ocean of grass and wheat. The sky dominates everything, vast and bruised with afternoon thunderstorms. Down in the south, the Gulf Coast offers a different kind of atmosphere. It is salty, industrial, and fiercely resilient, where refineries hum day and night against the backdrop of a warm, restless sea. The general atmosphere of Texas is a fascinating, sometimes jarring, collision of aggressive, forward-looking ambition and deep-rooted, traditional conservatism. You will see a gleaming, billion-dollar tech campus sitting just a few miles away from a century-old, family-owned cattle ranch. It is a place where people drive lifted pickup trucks with bumper stickers demanding freedom, while simultaneously navigating some of the most congested, hyper-developed urban sprawl in the Western Hemisphere. It is beautiful. It is overwhelming. And it is changing faster than almost anywhere else on the planet. So, why do people keep coming here? The answer is rooted in a very real, very tangible set of advantages that have drawn millions over the last 15 years. First and foremost is the economic engine. Texas is a job creation machine. Whether it is the tech boom in Austin, the energy and medical sectors in Houston, or the corporate headquarters and finance hubs in Dallas-Fort Worth, the state offers a level of career opportunity that is hard to find elsewhere. For a young professional or a growing family, the promise of a stable, well-paying job is the ultimate draw. Then, there is the legendary tax structure. Texas is one of the few states with zero state income tax. For a family making a solid middle-class income, or a retiree living off a 401k, and Social Security, keeping that extra 7 to 10% of your earnings is a massive financial relief. It feels like an immediate raise just by crossing the state line. Housing affordability, at least historically, has been the crown jewel of the Texas appeal. For years, families fleeing the astronomical costs of California, New York, or Illinois could sell a modest 2-bedroom condo on the coast and buy a sprawling 4-bedroom house with a fenced backyard, a 2-car garage, and a pool in Texas for the same price. The dream of space, of owning a piece of the earth, is deeply embedded in the American psyche, and Texas delivered that dream better than anyone. Beyond the economics, there is the lifestyle. The weather, while extreme in the summer, offers mild, beautiful winters that are a massive draw for retirees escaping the brutal snow and ice of the Midwest and Northeast. The outdoor lifestyle is rich and varied, from world-class fishing on the Gulf to hiking the Greenbelt trails in the hill country. There is also a cultural emphasis on community and family. In many Texas towns, neighbors still know each other. High school football is a religion that binds communities together. There is a genuine, palpable sense of pride in local identity that makes newcomers feel like they are part of something larger than themselves. On the surface, it looks like a utopia built for the American middle class. But that is where the illusion begins to crack. If you scratch the surface of the Texas miracle, you will quickly find a hidden side that is causing severe growing pains. The problems here are not always obvious to the casual observer, but they are deeply felt by the people who call this state home. The most shocking revelation for most newcomers is the property tax system. Texas makes up for its lack of state income tax by relying heavily on local property taxes, and they are brutal. The average effective property tax rate in Texas hovers around 18%, but in many fast-growing counties, it pushes well past 5%. Let that sink in. If you buy a home for $400,000, you are not just paying a mortgage. You are handing the county assessor roughly $8,000 to $10,000 every single year, just for the privilege of owning the land. And because home values have skyrocketed, those tax bills increase every year, regardless of whether your income has gone up. For retirees on fixed incomes, this has become a quiet, creeping financial emergency. Then there is the homeowner's insurance crisis. Texas weather is notoriously volatile. Between devastating hurricanes on the coast, catastrophic hailstorms in the north, and the lingering trauma of the 2021 winter grid failure, insurance companies have taken notice. Premiums have skyrocketed, in some cases doubling or tripling over the last 5 years. In certain high-risk zip codes, major carriers are simply refusing to renew policies, leaving homeowners scrambling to find coverage through a state-backed insurer of last resort, which is both expensive and offers limited protection. Infrastructure is another massive, unspoken struggle. Texas has added millions of residents in a very short time, but the roads, schools, and power grids have not kept pace. The legendary Texas traffic is no longer just a Dallas or Houston problem. It has infected mid-sized cities like San Antonio and Austin. Commutes that used to take 20 minutes now take an hour, draining the quality of life and adding stress to the daily routine. Furthermore, the state is experiencing a tale of two economies. While the major metros boom, hundreds of small, rural towns are quietly dying. As young people leave for the cities, these communities are left with aging populations, shuttered main streets, and underfunded rural hospitals. The wealth generated in Austin and Dallas does not easily trickle down to the dusty, forgotten towns of West Texas. The narrative of cheap, easy living is evaporating. The state is becoming a place where you have to fight to maintain your foothold. To truly understand Texas, you cannot just look at it from a satellite. You have to walk its streets and talk to its people. The state is a mosaic of wildly different places, each with its own unique character and set of challenges. Let's start in Austin. Once a quirky, laid-back college town known for live music and strange art, Austin has been transformed into a glittering, high-stakes tech hub. The skyline is dotted with construction cranes. The streets are filled with luxury electric vehicles and billion-dollar corporate campuses. But this rapid transformation has come at a steep cost. Austin is now one of the most expensive cities in Texas. The famous slogan, "Keep Austin Weird," has been replaced by a grim reality, "Keep Austin Expensive." The middle class, including the teachers, artists, and service workers who built the city's culture, are being systematically priced out, pushed into the distant, traffic-choked suburbs. A couple of hours south lies San Antonio. This is the cultural heart of Texas. It is older, slower, and deeply rooted in history. The famous River Walk is beautiful, but the real story of San Antonio is in its neighborhoods. It has long been considered the affordable alternative to Austin and Dallas. However, that is changing. As Austin spills over, San Antonio is gentrifying rapidly. Historic neighborhoods near downtown are seeing property values surge, pushing out multi-generational families. Yet, it remains a city of incredible warmth, vibrant food culture, and a strong military presence that provides a stable economic backbone. Then, there is Houston. Houston is a beast of its own making. It is a sprawling, decentralized, hyper-diverse metropolis with no strict zoning laws. This lack of zoning allows for incredible, organic neighborhood development, but it also leads to chaotic urban sprawl. Houston is the energy capital of the world and home to the greatest medical center on the planet, but it is also a city constantly battling its own geography. The flat, clay-heavy soil and the relentless Gulf humidity make it a nightmare for drainage. Buying a house here requires a deep understanding of floodplains, because the water always finds a way in. But the most fascinating places in Texas are often the ones far from the major metros. Take Marfa, for example. Located in the remote, high desert expanse of West Texas, Marfa was once a dying railroad town. Today, it is a surreal, world-renowned art oasis. It is a place where minimalist art installations sit in the middle of the desert, and where ultra-wealthy creatives from New York and Los Angeles buy up historic adobe homes. It is a hidden gem, but it is a gem that is becoming increasingly exclusive, creating a stark contrast between the wealthy transplants and the local working-class residents. If you are looking for the real, affordable middle-class life, you have to look to East Texas. Towns like Tyler and Longview are hidden in the piney woods. They are quiet, shaded, and surprisingly prosperous, driven by healthcare and regional industry. Here, you can still find a beautiful, well-maintained home for under $300,000. The pace of life is slower, the neighbors are genuinely friendly, and the crushing weight of big city traffic is non-existent. This is the Texas that the national media rarely talks about, but it is where a very comfortable, traditional American life is still very much alive. Down in the Rio Grande Valley, cities like McAllen and Brownsville are quietly becoming major retirement hotspots. The climate is subtropical, the cost of living is exceptionally low, and the culture is a vibrant, unique blend of American and Mexican influences. While the region faces economic challenges and lower average wages, for a retiree with a solid pension or savings, it offers a quality of life that is incredibly difficult to beat financially. When we look at the ledger, the numbers tell a story of a state in transition. Texas is now home to over 30 million people, making it the second most populous state in the nation. Migration trends show that while Texas is still gaining residents, the rate of growth is beginning to slow. The era of hundreds of thousands of people flooding in every single year is cooling off. Why? Because the affordability gap is closing. Statewide, the median home price now hovers around $340,000. That might sound reasonable compared to the national average, but in the major metropolitan areas, that number jumps to $450,000, or even well over $550,000 in desirable suburbs. Rent is also climbing. The average rent for a modest apartment in a major Texas city is now pushing past $1,700 a month, eating deeply into the budgets of young professionals and fixed-income retirees alike. The median household income in Texas is roughly $70,000. On paper, that sounds healthy, but you have to contextualize that number. When you factor in the high property taxes, the soaring homeowners' insurance premiums, and the rising cost of groceries and utilities, that $70,000 does not stretch nearly as far as it did 5 years ago. Unemployment remains relatively low, typically hovering around 4%, which indicates a strong job market. However, the real story is in the underemployed. Many workers are taking on secondary jobs, like driving for rideshare apps or delivering food, just to make up the difference in their monthly housing costs. As for retirement, Texas consistently ranks in the top 10 of retirement-friendly states, primarily due to the lack of income tax on Social Security and pensions. But financial advisors are increasingly warning retirees about the hidden variable: property taxes. A retiree might move to Texas to save on taxes, only to find that their annual property tax bill increases by thousands of dollars every few years as the neighborhood gentrifies, eventually forcing them to sell and move again. So, where is this state heading? What does the future hold for the Lone Star State? Texas is not declining, but it is undergoing a massive, painful sorting. The era of cheap Texas is officially over. The state is maturing into a highly stratified, expensive, and complex economy, much like the coastal states it once served as an alternative to. The future of Texas belongs to two distinct groups. On one end, you have the wealthy and the highly skilled. They will continue to thrive in the gated enclaves of Highland Park, the luxury high-rises of downtown Austin, and the master-planned, amenity-rich communities of the suburbs. They have the financial buffer to absorb rising taxes and insurance costs. On the other end, the middle class is being pushed further and further out. The future of middle-class Texas is in the exurbs, towns that are an hour or more away from the major job centers. But this comes with a catch. These distant developments are often governed by municipal utility districts, or MUDs. A MUD is a hidden, additional tax levied on residents to pay for the infrastructure of new developments. Buyers are often blindsided by this, finding out too late that their monthly housing costs are hundreds of dollars higher than they anticipated. We are also going to see a continued divergence between the booming metros and the rural areas. The rural towns that cannot attract new industry or remote workers will continue to shrink, facing a slow, quiet decline. Meanwhile, the state will have to make massive, unavoidable investments in its power grid, water resources, and transportation infrastructure. The question is whether the political will exists to make those investments before the next major crisis hits. Texas is still a migration hotspot, but the profile of the migrant is changing. It is no longer a free-for-all. It is becoming a destination for those who have carefully calculated the risks and have the financial means to weather the hidden storms. The story of Texas is the story of America itself. It is a place of boundless opportunity, breathtaking landscapes, and fierce independence. It is a place where dreams are built with hard work and a firm handshake. But it is also a place where the fine print can cost you everything. The hidden taxes, the insurance traps, and the relentless pace of change are reshaping the landscape in ways that are difficult to reverse. The glossy brochures and the political talking points will always paint a picture of a flawless utopia. But the reality on the ground is a complex, beautiful, and sometimes brutal battleground for the American dream. So, I have to ask you, if you were to pack up your life today, looking for a fresh start, a warmer climate, and a chance to stretch your dollar, would you still choose Texas? Is this state America's hidden paradise? Or is it quietly becoming its next great affordability crisis? Could you imagine spending the next decade of your life navigating its booming cities, its quiet piney woods, and its hidden financial traps? The map has changed. The rules have changed. The only question left is whether you are ready to play the game. Let me know your thoughts, your stories, and your own experiences in the comments below. Until next time, keep your eyes open and keep asking the right questions.